Let me now go right across to Vishnu Shaw, my colleague who's in Uttarakhand. We've been getting you ground reports a month on from that terrible tragedy. Vishnu, what is the latest that you're getting over there? Just how far have sort of rehabilitation efforts progressed?
Well, Ankita, it was at this time that the situation became absolutely critical in this area. Thousands of people were killed, their bodies washed away, and perhaps these bodies would never be found. All hell broke loose in the Kedar Valley. Well, now the focus has shifted from rescue operations to relief operations. But ultimately the question also arises of what happens next to the affected region, what happens next to Kedarnath itself. What we are told is that Kedarnath township, which has been completely destroyed, is far from being stabilized, and getting access to some of those areas is proving to be very, very difficult. It's going to be a long, difficult path for the government to clear out Kedarnath and to rebuild the town. And it's going to be a while before the Kedarnath part of the Char Dham Yatra can start. A month ago, in the early hours of the 17th of June, as India slept, the waters of the Mandakini rose to frightening heights. By this time, exactly a month ago, it was all over. Giant boulders and debris from the nearby Chorbari glacier slammed into the temple town, obliterating one of India's most sacred destinations and taking with it more than 5,500 lives. These images, procured by NDTV from the Indian Space Research Organization, tell a frightening before and after story. This is what Kedarnath used to be. Above the temple town lies the Chorbari glacier. At the bottom of the glacier lies an intact moraine. The fate of this moraine ultimately decided the fate of thousands. The Mandakini flows as usual, passing to the west of Kedarnath. Now look at this post-event satellite image. Fierce non-stop rains on the 15th and 16th of June, the result of a massive weather front, resulted in a temporary accumulation of water to the northwest of Kedarnath. With the breach of this moraine, the accumulated water thundered down the Mandakini valley, scouring glacial debris such as massive boulders along the way. By the time the waters reached Kedarnath, the Mandakini had changed its course, passing not just to the west of Kedarnath but also to the east. Kedarnath had been transformed into an island. A month after the devastation, the big question: what happens now to Kedarnath? Preliminary archaeological survey of India reports indicate that the structure of the temple has been damaged. But at the moment, extricating dead bodies from damaged buildings here and cremating them remains top priority.
Kedarnath has been is giving us a lot of challenge. We made an effort. We launched about 75 people with a week's ration to them. But success was not much. We could only cremate about, in all we have done about 169 cremations till now. So it is giving us a challenge because the weather is backing up. And now the time has come and we have to break buildings, enter into them. Then only we have stocked enough water, enough thing. So hopefully, I think in another 10 days time, we will start making an effort to clear Kedarnath. The operation may go on for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on how the weather supports.
But how will pilgrims and tourists get here in the future? With the path between Sonprayag to the south and Kedarnath to the north devastated, the government approached the army for help. But this access to the west of the original route being explored by the army has been declared a failure.
We requested the army, the General Bawa and his team were here, so we requested them when they were withdrawing that why don't you make one effort and give us an idea. Similarly, the NIM is located in district Uttarakhand. The principal on NIM is a good mountaineer, so he went with his team from 2 axes, and they came back after about 3 to 4 days, and they have given the feedback. The preliminary feedback given is that both the axes are very, very tough. For a common man to use those axes is not going to be very, very feasible.
Death and devastation is written all over the town of Sonprayag, 14 kilometers from Kedarnath. Nothing has changed here 1 month since the disaster, but the government says they are planning to rebuild the entire route along the yatra. Perhaps they will, but given the magnitude of the disaster and the amount it will take to rebuild a place even as small as this, it will take them a very, very long time.
The government says the danger of landslides along the present route can be avoided if a proper ropeway is set up between Sonprayag and Kedarnath.
अब ये GSI, the Geological Survey of India, वो हमको एक प्लान देगा, रूट देगा, लेकिन केबल कार्स, big cable cars to these all my 4 dhams we are proposing.
In the immediate run, however, the government is determined to improve the safety of pilgrims along the land route once it's rebuilt. NDTV has learned that the government will restrict the number of pilgrims on the route to 2,000, down from 10,000 every day. A system of online registrations will be set up so the government has the identity of each and every tourist going up. If the weather is bad, pilgrims will be stopped at Rishikesh and not allowed to proceed further. One way or the other, the process of rebuilding Kedarnath is going to be long and painful. As the temple town is rebuilt from scratch, the government says it will work very carefully. This tragedy has shown us the fury of nature is a factor that has to be central in all plans in reconstruction in this very fragile region. With Tejas Mehta and Pallav Bagla, Vishnu Shom for NDTV. So as the effort changes now from rescue operations to actually looking ahead at how things could change in this affected area, the big focus is Kedarnath itself. It's in a very bad condition right now. What's the immediate future? Joining us now, the person who actually spearheaded the government's efforts at all the rescue efforts in the entire affected area and now looking progressively at relief in the entire area, the Principal Secretary, Mr. Rakesh Sharma. Sir, thanks very much for being with us. Firstly, what is the immediate condition of Kedarnath itself?
See, the Kedarnath right now we have about 25 of our own people and about 15 NDRF people. So there's a team of 43 people who have started now making efforts to clean up the area. They have also made an effort to look for any of the dead bodies which are still trapped. Some success has been there. We have stocked enough ration now in that area. We have located one temporary building in which the whole the people who are there are living in that area. So in the coming days, we are going to now make an effort to get the Kedarnath Mandir Samiti to visit that area, get the ASI people to land up in that area as the weather is showing up somewhat better. So in a coming week's time, our effort will be to at least get the basic cleaning up done. Let the ASI people start working on as to what are the medium and long-term plans, and the Kedarnath Badrinath Samiti will start some kind of a puja in the overall guidance of the Shankaracharya.
Now, we are told, according to a preliminary report filed by the Archaeological Survey, there is damage which they've noticed, substantial damage. How much is this a factor? Is there talk of rebuilding a part of the temple?
Well, I think this will be I think it's a bit premature at this stage to really make a comment on it till the time that the ASI people arrive and they start digging up the area around the temple.
Right.
As apparently everybody is seeing in the pictures that there are slight damages here and there, but I'm quite sure that ASI will be able to do a good job in recovering the temple back to its shape.
Tell us how difficult it is for a lot of the people working there now who have to actually enter broken, damaged buildings and extricate these bodies. Tell us what that challenge is, because what you were telling me earlier on is that you need to put in a lot more equipment over there. So how difficult is that?
Well, see, it is a very difficult task, let me tell you very frankly. But we have been able to now lift some of the equipment. The NDRF men are there, our own men are there. I am quite sure that under the overall superintendence of ASI and the buildings where the trapping is there of some of the dead bodies, we should be able to make an effort to retrieve them back.
Right. Now, has the process of actually giving monetary compensation to those who've been affected, those families, has it started?
Yeah, very much. See,
it started today?
It started today. We have already made payments to 52 families in different districts. Today in the morning, Cabinet Secretary took a meeting with all the top concerned secretaries of the Government of India. I went for that meeting along with the Chief Secretary, and we have been given a go-ahead now that the missing people who are presumed to be dead, we should start the process in coming 2 to 3 days' time of distributing the relief to them also. We are going to get a final nod on that.
But what about those from other areas, other states? Now, Uttarakhand, it's relatively easy for you to start the process. What about those from other parts of the state? How do they get all of their compensation without death certificates?
Yeah, the process is going to be very, very simple. We are not going to make it complicated. We have got the missing people's names and the details that we have got. We are getting it verified by the respective state chief secretaries. They are sending us the verified list. Given that list, we will start the process of giving them a go-ahead, because ultimately the payment to the people who are missing from the different states will be made by the respective district magistrates of those districts from which they belong.
Right. And that's a legal process that
that's a legal process, and we are going to, as I said, that missing people are going to be presumed as dead, and we will start the financial compensation which is to be given to them.
All right, Mr. Sharma, thanks very much for joining us. Well, the Principal Secretary, Rakesh Sharma, they're explaining the process which lies ahead. Well, one of the very interesting stories that we've had in the last 24 hours is of rescue pilots in the region. Well, one of those pilots who continues to fly to the Kedar Valley and into Kedarnath itself, which is very, very difficult, is Captain Bhupinder. He's rescued hundreds of people in the region, along with many other civilian pilots who've done an incredible job in the region. And in many senses, civilian pilots have been unsung heroes. We've spoken about the incredible role of the armed forces, of the army and the air force and their pilots. But civilian pilots have also had an incredible role. Well, what Captain Bhupinder and his co-pilot did yesterday was quite heartwarming. For more than 2.5, 3 weeks, in fact, there was a mule which was stranded, a mule which was going to die, a mule which hadn't eaten. Now, it's important to know that mules, donkeys and horses are very much a lifeline and part of the local economy in the Kedar Valley region. On humanitarian grounds, Captain Bhupinder took his helicopter and somehow or the other managed to rescue that mule. Take a look at the story. We'll be joined by the captain and his co-pilot after that.
Honestly, it was very satisfying. I mean, I have rescued hundreds of people in this tragedy, but this was the first animal, and I really feel very nice about him.
Yes, Captain Bhupinder really should. The former Air Force helicopter pilot did the unthinkable. He rescued a horse, carrying it like any other passenger inside the chopper. Nicknamed Hope, NGOs were pushing several pilots to help the stranded mule. Too risky, they all refused, except Bhupinder.
It had got swept away on an island close to Sonprayag, and I'm quite amazed that for such a long time it survived. He was sedated by the wet, and thereafter his legs were tied up in a bundle, and the problem was in lifting him up. It took a lot of Herculean task as far as really getting him inside the helicopter was concerned, but somehow pushing and pulling we did get him inside.
It was a super risky operation. The sedation dose had to be perfect. A little less, the horse's movements would have put those on board in danger. A little more, the animal could have died.
Hope had luck on his side, but others not as fortunate. Locally known as Khatchars, there are as many as 5,000 registered mules here, many of them which ferry pilgrims to Kedarnath or carry goods. While the Animal Welfare Board claims 1,000 are still stranded, the local administration doles out a ridiculously low figure.
अब वर्तमान समय में तकरीबन 24-25 खच्चर हमारा विशेष रामबाड़ा से इधर और गौरीकुंड के बीच फंसे हुए हैं। उसमें कुछ तो अभी बीच में थोड़ा सा स्ट्रेस बचा हुआ है, तो घास खा ले रहे हैं और पानी पी ले रहे हैं, और कुछ की हालत कुछ ज़्यादा ही ख़राब है। खच्चर के बिना पूरी दिक्कत है, ज़्यादा दिक्कत क्या कहें, पूरी दिक्कत खच्चर नहीं है तो पूरी दिक्कत है।
There are a lot of mules which I see now that I've been able to rescue one, and to be very honest, their condition is really hopeless. Unless the track is made serviceable, there is literally no chance of their surviving for too long.
But the only plan the government has is to let these animals fend for themselves. With Tejas Mehta in Guptkashi, Rohit Rajan for NDTV.
Well, joining us now, Captain Bhupinder and his co-pilot, Captain Anga. Thank you both very much for joining us. Incredible story there of a rescue of an animal. I wonder what your passenger manifest said on that flight. One horse, I mean, or something of that sort. But that apart, let me ask you about that very first flight that you did into Kedarnath itself. What did you see? Why was it very difficult?
Well, the weather had been bad for 3-4 days. It was continuously raining, and it was making us feel very uneasy, because in the hills, if it rains for more than about 48 hours, you start feeling very uneasy. Something real bad is going to happen. That's the day when on 17th, around 10 o'clock, I got a call from the Principal Secretary, Civil Aviation, Government of Uttarakhand, Mr. Rakesh Sharma. He said, we really don't know, but there's something amiss at Kedarnath. Could you go across and find out? I said, sir, it's raining cats and dogs here. He said, okay, fine. Whenever it clears up, just do a quick round and let me know. So around 6 in the evening, when officially flying is supposed to be stopping, that's the time I thought the rain had gone a little low. And I quickly went in along with Captain Angad and Mr. Rana, our local man. And to our horror, we realized that Rambada no longer existed. In fact, it took me a while to really gasp it, to really fathom that Rambada never existed on the ground. There was not a single blade of grass. The stream, which was a small rivulet, had gone into a roaring river. And
on both sides of Kedarnath?
No, this is Rambada I'm talking about.
Rambada, right.
And we could not proceed any further, but we had understood if Rambada was so bad, what would have gone wrong at Kedarnath. And when we turned around, we found the track also had been broken in various small pieces, and there were people stranded all along the route. I came back and reported this immediately to Mr. Rakesh Sharma, and it was very difficult for him to fathom it. I had to tell him 3 times, sir, this is what I have seen. Rambada no longer exists.
Yeah. One of the most, I'm sure, moving experiences in your life has been to rescue children, those who are distressed, and you've done it under extreme conditions. At the end of the day, because you've been flying every single day, whenever the weather clears, you're up in the air, you've been rescuing people, you've been supplying. What does it feel like? I mean, what goes into your mind?
Well, when we're doing the job, we come kind of immune to it because we're so focused about it. But at the end of the day, we think about it, and we feel that whatever we did, we made a difference, whatever little we did. And yeah, that's how I feel about it.
And what is your mission now? Because it's changed from rescue to relief. Tell us about, because you took me along, so, you know, as you were dropping relief supplies to some of the most far-flung villages in the Uttarkashi area. Tell us a little bit about landing in those areas.
Right. Most of these villages, they don't have a proper place for landing. They're on the hills, so we have to make do with the farmlands, and they are very small. A lot of times slopey, a lot of trees, which affect our landing path. But we do manage, and we have been doing it. I mean, you've been with us and you've seen it. Very small places, very tricky, but we have to do it, so we've been doing it.
All right, and this mission continues until you're told that things are stabilized.
Well, yes, of course. When we go across and we meet the people, they really are very thankful to us for reaching them with relief material. So it buoys us even further, and we'll continue with this so long it goes on.
All right, thank you both very much for joining us. Well, a few of the unsung heroes in the entire effort over here in the Kedarnath Valley. And it's not just the Kedarnath Valley, it's Uttarkashi district, it's other districts as well. Helicopter operations remain the lifeline of the relief efforts. Remember, in less than 5 days from now, the government hopes to stock enough material to last 30,000 affected families 1 month of rations. That's going to be a huge challenge.